just learned about some characteristics and some of the support needs for individuals with FASD. But let's talk about parents and what should parents do and how can we support parents. Caregivers really need to take care of themselves, and it's not always something that we talk about when we provide workshops like this, but it's really important that parents take care of their own needs first. I really like this quote from an in-flight safety instructions on an airplane, so I'm going to read it. In the unlikely event of a sudden loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will drop from the compartment above. Place the mask over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. Please put on your own mask before attempting to assist others. And this is a really important concept that it's not always easy for parents to grasp, but you really do need to take care of yourself or you're not any good or able to take care of anyone else. Most parents run on empty, and being a parent in itself is stressful, but being a parent of a child with FASD brings with it additional stressors, whether it's dealing with unexpected behaviors or having to provide more support in daily activities or daily living skills, unexpected behaviors, having to advocate at school for your child's needs. There's obviously extra stress that may come with having a child with FASD. And it's really not easy for parents to put themselves first. And many report that they do feel guilty when they, find some time to take care of their own needs. But we really want you to know that it really is important. And there is research and evidence shows that when you do take time for yourself or take time to recharge and take a break for yourself, you are better able to take care of your child. If you're not able to do that, you may tend to be running on empty and you really don't have enough energy to support yourself or anybody else. So this is where respite can come into play. And taking care of you can mean taking a break, rejuvenate your body, mind, and spirit so you can continue to raise your wonderful, smart, sometimes challenging, but always precious child. What we normally like to do is have parents write down a few things that you may or you would do for yourself if you find that you had some extra time. So if you had an extra half an hour this week, what would you do to take care of yourself? Would it be something like taking a bath? Would it be going for a run? Would it be going to visit some friends or family? Would it be reading a book all alone by yourself? Would it be going to get a massage? There's so many different things, but I would encourage you to make a list and write those things down because someday you might have some time, and we do hope that you have some time. So let's talk about respite. I don't know whether you've tried respite or not, but respite is basically a short-term temporary care that's provided to your child. But it also gives caregivers a temporary break from caregiving and allows time to recharge and connect with family, friends, or themselves again. The child may participate in a respite program, a social or recreational program, or receive one-to-one respite by a respite worker. And again, really respite is individualized and it is really what is helpful to you and your family. So for one family, having a one-to-one worker that spends time with their child every week is really what they need. And other families might feel that it's much better for their child to go to an out-of-home respite program, whether it's a day program or an overnight program. Really, again, respite is really individualized and really needs to be chosen based on what your family's needs are. So respiteservices.com is an organization that was started in Toronto, and it's actually now a province-wide program. So you can go to the respiteservices.com website and click on the region that you live in, and they will have respite programs. And in Toronto, there are 3 different supports that are available through respiteservices.com. And you can register by going to respiteservices.com and filling out the registration online, or you can call them and speak to someone over the phone. So they have 3 respite type programs. The first I'll talk about is the CHAP worker program, and this is the one-to-one support that I was talking about. CHAP stands for Community Helpers for Active Participation, and they have a database where families can register as well as workers. So a family would register and describe what sort of activities they would like the respite worker to do, what activities they want their child to participate in, what are their child's needs. You know, is it something that, you know, are they looking for respite on a Saturday? Or are they looking for someone to accompany their child to camp? Or are they looking for a worker to come into the home and just give parents a break in the home? As well, the CHAP workers would register online and go through a bit of a screening process and be matched with families. So then once a family is looking for a worker, they would let the CHAP program know. They would be sent profiles of these workers, and then they would interview workers and decide who is the best match for their family and for their child's needs. There are also a listing of community-based respite programs on respiteservices.com website, and it's nicely broken down into the 4 quadrants of the city. It has listing for recreational programs like Parks and Rec. It has other agency programs that could include after school, evening, or weekend programs, and they also have some overnight respite programs. And then they provide support to help families access funding, and whether it's ministry funding or charitable funding or other funding sources that are available. So it's a great resource, and I would recommend you taking a look at their website. So 2 potential funding options that may or may not be appropriate for someone with FASD diagnosis. Special Services at Home funding, it's called SSAH for short. This would be appropriate for an individual who has a diagnosis of FASD as well as an intellectual disability. So this funding is for someone with an intellectual disability and or physical disability, and the funding is provided to give families money to pay for respite programs or workers. It's an invoice sort of system. Once a family applies, and if they're eligible, then they would get a yearly amount that they have the next 12 months to use. The other funding, which may or may not be eligible for individuals with FASD, is called Assistance for Children with Severe Disabilities, ACSD. This is an income-based program, so a family has to have an income below a certain level in order to qualify for some funding. The maximum amount that a family can receive is $500 per month. And this funding is given to families directly into their bank account, and it's to cover the costs, the extraordinary costs of having a child with special needs. So again, I would always encourage you to apply and try and access this funding if possible. So next, let's talk about some resources that we would recommend if you're interested in getting a better understanding of FASD. And Eric already talked about The Explosive Child by Dr. Ross Green, which is a great book and resource. Another by Diane Malbin is Try Differently, Not Harder. There are a few online books, Strategies Not Solutions by FASD Alberta, as well as Healthy Child Manitoba has a great online resource. Here is a listing of websites that are really helpful in gaining more information and an understanding of FASD. They do sometimes have workshops online as well as trainings. CAN FASD and FASD Ontario are 2 great websites. The next one, Miles Himmelreich, is an adult who lives with FASD, and he is a great advocate and speaker. He's definitely someone to check out. FAS World and FASD Ontario are also additional websites that are really helpful. So what we'd like to wrap up with is basically take-home message. As Eric said, learning happens differently, and so teaching needs to happen differently. It's all about providing the support that is appropriate for your child. And again, your child will require a lifetime of support, and that support will likely change over time and needs to be adapted. So that's important to note. So we also recommend that families attend future workshops, whether it's at Surrey Place or perhaps through some of the websites that we shared a minute ago. And it's really helpful for you to learn, to keep up-to-date information as well as learn specific teaching strategies. And one thing to note is that Surrey Place, we are developing another workshop. It's a behavior and FASD workshop, and it's we'll be looking at different behaviors as well as some teaching skills. So please keep an eye on our website to see when that comes out.
Your feedback is very important to us. Please take a moment to complete the survey. Thank you very, very much for listening to the presentation. We hope that you found it helpful.